So basically, being here in Vermont has given me a more intimate view of how this global child sex trafficking network works, not only through modeling and entertainment, but the criminal justice system. Think about it. Epstein's Iran-Contra's partners in crime have been bringing in the drugs since before we found out about it for Iran-Contras. And it ain't just the fun wars. I mean, they're paying for this Iran-Contra or this actual war with Iran right now out of the taxpayers' funds. So all that drug money they're generating is going where? Same place all the money they're generating off Jim Crow, Joe Biden, and Strom Thurmond's crime bill that's filling up the prisons and the homeless shelters and the streets with homeless encampments, which brings me to my point. They bring in the drugs, make the drugs illegal to possess or sell, get people addicted to it, then take their fucking kids away from them. Now, in more progressive Vermont, they're not necessarily locking up the parents all the time because their population's too small. They got to have some kind of workforce, and they need homeless people on the street so that the homeless shelters can beef up their numbers and get more revenue from HUD, and they need them in and out of the ER and clinics so they can get more revenue that way. If they locked up everybody, they wouldn't have. It would cut the revenue off from the other branches of the crime family. We don't want all the money going to the prisons. I mean, some of us fake-ass motherfuckers at Salvation Army, we want our cut. Paul Dragon and his CVOEO and Safe Harbor and University of Vermont, they want their cut of the slave revenue. But they're taking babies away from mothers, infants, newborns away from mothers because they're homeless, because they're drug addicted, because they're mentally ill. There's the crux. That is the biggest aspect. And I am not here saying that the modeling and entertainment industry isn't absolutely abhorrent. Diddy showed us exactly. Diddy and Epstein and what went on at Zorro Ranch and his proves that it is. However, it gets much darker and much uglier. Allie Carter told her story. They tried to do this shit to me when I was a kid. Luckily, Dad was Special Forces and trained. He may have trained Mom. I don't know. I don't know if Mom's deep cover operator and trained Meredith or what. I don't know. That's why JAG and Special Victims Unit has to sort that out. Based on Meredith's nasty attitude, I don't think that she is a deep cover operator. I think she's a shill, just like her mammy and her pappy and whatever. But anyway, the child sex trafficking starts at the hospitals and the shelters and see that building right there? That one end of it over here, like this end of it right here, that's the Department of Health and Vermont Human Services. That's where Paul Dragon works. He gets to investigate his own crimes. Just like Fauci got to investigate his own crimes. That end down there in Family Services, which was also homeless. They're all involved. And this is nationwide. They appoint big people like him in high positions, and he makes sure everybody underneath him, all the way down to the regular staff people at the homeless shelters and caseworkers at victim services, are all corporate shills and Ghislaine Maxwell types, right down to their street snitches like Becky Burl and Autumn Caton. That goes for military too. So, all of you pieces of shit gang stalking me every day, you are a part of a very global child trafficking and human trafficking and drug trafficking network that is killing kids, killing mothers. I mean, not to mention all the parents. I was in prison with a whole lot of mothers that cried themselves to sleep at night because they were doing 25 fucking years as drug mules. Guess who they were bringing the drugs in for? The very fucking motherfuckers who locked them up. And there was a case in Marion County, Florida, where they caught a judge and a juvenile prosecutor who owned stock in a private juvenile facility that kept the beds full of kids in a juvenile detention center because they made money off of it. That's pretty much synonymous with the entire fucking network. And when you're taking people's kids away from them, putting them in foster homes, and a lot of my partner worked, she was part of a task force, or worked for the task force that did the background checks on anybody who worked with kids in Florida, whether you were going to be a foster parent or whether you were going to work at a juvenile facility or anything to do with foster kids or adopted kids or whatever. So my guess is that, and she hated Bush. She actually got letters of recommendation from, I think she got 2 letters of recommendation from George Bush. Threw them both in the trash because she saved him so much money. I got her in the who's who of American businesswomen when she was a lieutenant. I made sure she got the lieutenant. I'm not going to go into all that right now, but she was basically a shift supervisor, aka lieutenant, of a juvenile facility. And they were abusing kids there. That's how she ended up being a lieutenant, because I told her, I said, Faye, you got to report that. They're minors. And the sheriff's department had to come out, videotape the kids. She lost her job. I said, she signed a non-disclosure agreement. I didn't. As far as I'm concerned, you fired her for being a gay person who reported child abuse that you were allowing. I'll contact the Florida Department of Human Rights. Within 30 minutes, they called her to come back in. Not only did she get her keys back, she got a promotion. She doubled her salary, tripled it, went from 20 grand a year to 60. So I ain't fucking one. I'm not the fucking one. I have a very long established history of successfully helping kids and getting the people who helped the kids what they deserved, or hurt the kids what they deserved. Scott Rozier Mason, I never testified. I just hacked the world's largest search engine and the world's largest news aggregator owned by Yahoo, and wrote articles on a Yahoo site called Flickr, attached 75 tags, and force-fed my article about my own personal artwork. It was a self-portrait, and I wrote an article about that self-portrait that I took at Chad's with his iPad. So it was art, it was freedom of expression. I wasn't a news journalist. That shit went viral, and the judge ended up quoting my shit on sentencing day when he sentenced Scott Rozier Mason to prison for 40 years. I'm a prodigious fucking human rights, child rights, animal rights activist. That's why I was invited to join the Men's Association. I'm going to lock all of you up. If you want to, but there's things you have to do to stay alive to be able to get locked up and testify in exchange for leniency. Maybe they drop the death penalty. That's about all they're going to offer you. Or you're going to end up like Al Hennessy, Brandy, Ben and Alfonso and 47 others just like you in Missouri that I filmed. I don't know how many Dad filmed. And we weren't filming it for the purposes of blackmail or we were filming it for self-defense. Not only our own self-defense, but they were locking up a whole lot of people that weren't involved in none of that. The police were doing the killing and then blaming it on civilians. Usually minorities like my father or other people. So, all you idiots that are still gang stalking me, that's you telling me, no, I'm not going to turn myself in and get leniency. I'm going to let these motherfuckers kill me. Okay. All right, that's what you want. You want to be found dead in your tent or dead in your room at Champlain Place or dead in your pod or floating in the river or wherever. Can't fix stupid. But I'm going to get these, all the prisons are going to be emptied with their current occupants. Those parents and those families, they're going to get the kids back. They're going to be handsomely compensated. If they want to work, they will. If they don't, they won't. I was watching Bernie Sanders. Well, people deserve jobs. People deserve the choice of whether they want to work for another motherfucker or not. All these massive Amazon warehouses shouldn't be like that. Let's put it this way. We seize the assets, break up the monopolies, and then some local person in Vermont can open a small warehouse with a small footprint, and they can be the Amazon or mail order franchisee right here, and that way the money goes to a local Vermonter who is delivering you your goods that you would normally order off Amazon or Walmart. And they get to hire local people to work there or on their farms. And they shouldn't have to impregnate cows by sticking their arm up the cow's uterus and then sending the boy cows to they should have everything they need to keep whatever cows they want to keep. Or we got to get completely decolonize our brains. I hated having to get up and go to a job and make another motherfucker a whole bunch of money while I made bupkis. It doesn't matter if I'd have made $30 a year. Let's say I made 30 grand. Let's say I made $30 an hour. Guess what? I would have been too comfortable to find out what my true capabilities are. I always wanted to be an artist. That shit's expensive. People want to get into music. Art is the way people are going to go, and I think farming is the way people are going to go. And yes, there will be a place for people who want to sell goods through mail order, but it doesn't have to be Amazon or Walmart. It can be maybe some local guy or family wants to do that, and maybe they sell everything, or maybe they only sell skateboards, or they only sell books, or they art books, or biography, whatever. We've got to bust up these monopolies, and there will be plenty of opportunities for people to open their own business and be the local resource for whatever that is, so we're not buying skateboards from some Amazon rich dude that's being shipped from Washington or New York City. Now, New York City needs great big huge warehouses. They're 19 million people. They're the size of a small country. But Vermonters shouldn't be forced to have their stuff shipped from a huge warehouse somewhere else. There should be a small warehouse here. We can localize everything, and nobody has to work for anybody but themselves, and everybody still has more than enough. Everybody will still be working, learning ethics. It'll be like Norway, only different, because we're not in the middle of nowhere. We're not quite as pretty as Norway. That is one gorgeous country. But yes, we can be like Norway. Everybody can be millionaires and be humble and contribute. And there's no monopolies. Well, I think there is one family that kind of has a monopoly on the cod or whatever it is. I think it's cod and lobster. But they're so small, there's only, what, 50,000 people in the whole country or something like that? That's not really the same as a monopoly. That's like just the community being a community. We're 350 million as a nation. And I think that having a lot of animal sanctuaries is going to be a bit healing for a lot of people. I remember when COVID hit and we were all locked down, I think it was some